hockey friends and families around the world, and welcome to another episode of Our Kids Play Hockey. I'm Lee Elias, joined by Christie of Bowins, who looks like she's right by a fire today if you're watching the episode. If you're listening, her voice is just as warm, so it's always good. And there's also Mike Benelli, the Christmas rock that's going to be here with you for the entire holiday season and year today as we record on Monday morning and make Mike happy. But today's episode is all about opportunity. Not just for kids chasing goals on the ice, but for anyone who loves the sport and wants to stay connected to it for their entire lives. We get asked all the time by parents and coaches, hey, I want to get involved in the game beyond just being a fan or beyond just coaching. This is the episode for you because our guest, Nick Bowins, is the founder of Working in Hockey, a platform that highlights the countless roles that make the hockey world run, from coaching to analytics to marketing to media to events to community development. And there's a lot more than that. Nick's message is simple but powerful. There's room for everyone in this game, and we believe that as well here. Nick, welcome to Our Kids Play Hockey.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me. I'm a fan of what you do, so I'm excited to be here with you this morning.
Now, we're excited to have you too, buddy. And again, this is going to be a fun episode because I meant what I said in the open. I mean, at least once a week I'm asked, hey, how did you get a job in hockey? How do you work in hockey? So your stuff is literally called Working in Hockey. Why don't we give, for the audience who might not know, the origin story? What inspired you to create this? What was the moment that you realized you had to do it? Tell us about how it has grown into the miraculous site that it is now in the community. You do a lot of podcasts. Where did this all start?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'm a fan of simple names. I like looking at something and knowing exactly what it is. So we tried to keep it simple, stupid with Working in Hockey. Like you said, it's for anybody looking to work in the game. I think a lot of times, like we were talking off air, we kind of think, oh, we're going to be NHL players, PWHL players, Olympians when we're growing up. And then, reality starts to sink in a little bit. And maybe we have to go down some more traditional job paths or otherwise there. Myself, I worked in the OHL for a couple internships while I was in university at Waterloo there. I worked for a couple different teams. I've consulted for a couple different hockey companies, and then kind of graduated about a month or two into COVID. So hockey jobs were far and few between while COVID was kind of ramping up there, right? So I took a couple more normal desk jobs, day jobs, and I've found my lane there. I love what I do today, but I always kind of stayed involved in the game. I worked for a couple hockey media brands like Triple Deke with JT Barnett. I ran Hockey Collective, one of the biggest, or if not the biggest at the time, social media brands with over 500,000 followers on Instagram there. And, the more that I had conversations with people in the business world or, they poked and prodded around what I've done with Hockey Collective or otherwise, they were interested in kind of, or at least asking the same questions I had of, hey, how do you get into the industry? Okay, I love playing. I love being around the game. I still go watch games every weekend, but how do I break into the industry? So Working in Hockey, kind of a napkin chicken scratch idea about 2 years ago. But really the goal for me, guys, is to increase transparency, visibility, and just share these job postings with people. I think there's so many hidden job boards or network only jobs that get out there that my job is, if I can just share these openings and postings with the masses, with the public, with people who are currently playing or maybe thinking about shifting to the business side, that's a win for me. So Working in Hockey is a free weekly newsletter that contains a list of every single job I can find in hockey in North America. Get it all in one spot to make people's lives easier.
What's the response been like for you so far, Nick?
Phenomenal. I never would have expected it, Christie. I thought if I could get a couple thousand followers and maybe have a little bit of a community and help 2 or 3 people get a job, that would be a win for me. This is all on the weekend and nights for me. So, any little win is great. But today, as we sit here, we just hit 60,000 followers on Instagram last night. We have 15,000 people on the free weekly newsletter there. We've got about 15,000 followers on LinkedIn. And, it's hard to track how many people exactly I've helped get a job or otherwise, but I've had over 100 people directly reach out to myself saying that they found a job through the newsletter, the social posts, or otherwise.
Right. Were you surprised, just follow up, how many opportunities there are in the hockey community nationwide? Even do you stretch out internationally too? Or are you
I
limited?
just focus on North America right
Okay,
now. I sprinkle in the odd NHL Europe or
sure.
IMG job in Europe, whatever it may be. CCM has a few out there too, but for the most part, I've focused on North America because I try to build the actual relationships with the teams and hiring managers to, understand what they're looking for and hopefully help students and young professionals land those jobs easier. But yeah, completely shocked by the number of jobs that are out there. Every week we average, I think it's 63 jobs in the newsletter, usually
Wow.
anywhere from, I think today was really low due to Thanksgiving, obviously, but I think we still have 41 jobs in it. And we've had as many as 150 in given
Oh,
weeks in the summer or in the fall. So there's so many jobs. And I mean, you guys know there's so many career paths that you don't think of growing up or you don't know exist. And then you go, oh, that makes sense. Oh, there's 10 people on that team for every professional sports team or whatever it is. So yeah, shocked by the number of roles that are out there.
I'm going to tell a little story here real quick about my journey to get a job in hockey. By the way, real quick, love the name Working in Hockey. You talk about simplicity. Our show name is Our Kids Play Hockey. There's something about just saying this is exactly what it is
100%.
that makes a lot of sense. But my first job in hockey was as a stockroom boy for a local pro shop in my town. Right. And I realized at that job that, oh, wow, this is work. But I also enjoyed working in the game. And then I went to school for broadcasting. Now, the cool part about this is that when I was in college, obviously the internet existed, but it's not what it is today. And to find a job online at that time, there's no LinkedIn. There's nothing. There's nothing really there, right? You have to kind of search. And the way I got my job at the NHL at the time was I was at the my college rink, and I was in the back office because I actually worked there too as a coach. And on the desk of one of my friends was a business card for somebody from the NHL. And I had no idea who this person was. Their job title didn't make any sense to me. Kids, adults listening, because this is kind of what it takes. I didn't care. I emailed that person. I took the email down. I said, my name is Lee Elias. I'm very interested in working at the NHL. Can I take you out to lunch? I just want to meet you and say hello. I got very lucky. That person emailed me back. He let me take him out to lunch, give me a full tour of the NHL offices. And again, it wasn't just like, hey, man, here's a job. He sent me information of, hey, here's some jobs you should apply for. I applied. I interviewed. It was a 6-month process. I remember at one point thinking it's just not going to happen. And then I got the call one day that I got the job with, at the time, the NHL Network in North America. That's how it used to be done. I'm telling this story, Nick, because I would have done anything for your site back at that time, weekly, just saying, here's all the things that are available. I just think it's amazing what you've done and aggregated. You found something that needed to be done. And not to mention it's a service. You had said, oh, you can track back to about 100 people that have directly told you. If it was one person, that's amazing. To help anybody find work, period, but work in the game is an amazing thing. So the work you're doing, I think I want to make sure people understand here. This is such important work and it's such gracious work to be helping people follow their dreams, because working in hockey really is a dream. I don't know too many people working in the game but like, this sucks. I hate this. I mean, you have your days, right? But at the end of the day, if you're working in a hockey arena, it's a good day. So I just want to say that to you, man, that the work you're doing is amazing, and I appreciate it so much.
No, that means a lot. I do appreciate it, Lee. And I think, similar to your story there, like, the fact that that person got back to you and sat down and went for lunch with you, I think that just showcases our game in a nutshell. There is
Agreed.
so many good people in it. There is people that are willing to help and go that extra mile, and they know how hard it was to get into the industry. So whether it's a business card back in the day, a LinkedIn message today, whatever it is,
Right.
there's so many people in our game that are willing to help. And that's been the coolest thing for me, is getting to meet some of those people and hear their stories and hear how they're helping today's youth, whoever else it may be. It's awesome.
Well, and one follow-up, Mike, I'm going to throw it to you. I keep cutting Mike off, guys, but I did want to just close the loop on this one. Sorry, Mike. Yeah, is that I wanted to mention this, that person that I emailed told me that, wow, no one ever does that. No one ever bothers to email. So I want to make sure I tell the audience here that so many people will stop short of, look, they'll never respond. They'll never answer. Well, if you don't do it, they're definitely not going to answer. Like, I'm not going to guarantee you if you email someone, they're going to get back to you, but I can guarantee if you don't email them, they're not going to get back to you. You would be surprised, audience. You'd be surprised, A, how available these people are. Now, if you're going to email the GM of an NHL team, you're probably not going to get a response. Okay. But you'd be surprised how many of these employees are willing to email you back. And you'd also be surprised how many people don't email. They stop short for whatever reason. If you want to do this, do it. All right. Find it. And again, the resource working in hockey, you have the resources to find these jobs and to find these people to email. So sorry, I am going to throw it to you, Mike. I just want to make that point. I didn't want to forget.
No,
Mike,
it makes a ton of sense. I think we've all been through that process, right? Nick, can you describe like the life cycle of a professional hockey person? And I don't mean like we all think, oh, I'm going to coach. And I'm just going to go be the head coach of the Tampa Bay Lightning. Like so you've seen it now in real time, right? I'm sure you're seeing the life cycles of, here's a player, he's a girl, boy, whatever, 18 years old. They're done with their hockey career on ice and they love hockey. They're passionate about stats. They're passionate about broadcasting. They love tinkering in the hockey world. They don't want to go get a desk job somewhere that doesn't have hockey related to it. Talk a little bit about how your platform helps people get into like the steps of growing. Like, because we all see it, you mentioned it in the NHL, each team has tons of teams within that team, right? Whether it's on ice personalities, whether it's off ice, community relations people, which is social media, whether it's all the different things that go into it. Just talk a little bit about how you don't have to go into the NHL or a hockey job for the dream job, but it is the starting path to get in the door to start working within the hockey industry.
100%. That's a great question, Mike. I think a lot of times I look at it very similar to a player's kind of growth trajectory, right? It's sometimes, the route is you have to start in junior and then go to college and then ECHL, AHL to work up to the NHL. The biggest thing for me that I always try to, I don't like the word preach, maybe I use it too much, but I guess I try to preach it, is it's really about that first opportunity. And it doesn't matter what level it is. It could be your local high school team. It could be the AAA team in the area. It could be an NHL team if you're so lucky to get that first opportunity. But the biggest thing that professional sports teams look for on a resume is that you've worked for another team. Doesn't really matter the league, the level, the team, the location. They want to see that abbreviation. They want to see Tampa Bay Lightning NHL. They want to see, worked in the ECHL or with an NCAA team. Getting that first opportunity, regardless of whether it's an assistant coach or, you're pushing pucks on the weekend or you're just taking tickets for the 50-50 at your local junior team. That first experience is so crucial. I would pretty well tell anybody to do any job that gets them that first team or league abbreviation on their resume, and then it only builds from there, right?
Yeah, because I think your point is like, and I'll use a local person that I know, and I'll shout his name out because I love this guy's path. But Pat Bowler is an assistant GM with the Rangers. He started out like in the video room, like as an intern, right? So all of a sudden now, but his life cycle went from college to pro to back to minor league hockey, and then years and years and years, and then and you see like guys like Pat Cooper started as John Cooper started as like a youth hockey coach and
a lawyer.
As a lawyer, right? But could just give a little bit, like I see your site, right? I go in there, I say, job for mascot for the Tallahassee Warthogs. And, I get in now because maybe I don't want to be a mascot, right? But your point is like, get in there, see the inner workings of what goes on. You're good at this piece, but guess what? You might be able to transition to this piece. And I think could you talk a little bit about at the minor level, and NCAA, OHL, these places don't have huge budgets, right? I mean, nobody's coming in, like I'm sure when I hire a coach, the first thing, if somebody asks me like what it pays, I most likely don't even interview them anymore. I'm like, but you're in the wrong step of this. But talk a little bit about how you get into these organizations and you actually become a jack of all trades.
100%. I think that's the biggest thing with working in sports, and it doesn't matter what level of your career, what role or team department it is, being able to do multiple things and be that jack of all trades is so important. I always, reference my first internship was with the Owen Sound Attack in the OHL. The first game night, I think I was live tweeting the game. The second game night, I was helping the guys track shots. The third one, I was throwing ice cream bars to fans, like whatever it is. Every single day is different, right? And you can look at that as like, oh, that's an intern job. They were giving you whatever little grunt work, but no, that's the reality. Is
Right.
Everybody does that. Everybody does a million different things, whatever it takes for the team. The same way that a coach would preach it to the players is the way that the business side looks at it, right? It's saying anything you can do for the team. So to me, absolutely, Mike, I think any of those experiences where you just get your foot in the door and then say yes to these opportunities. I was talking with a college student the other day. He joined as hockey analytics intern with a team in his area. Not a huge analytics department. They just have a couple kids tracking stats and stuff, right? But then after that, he was talking to the marketing person, and now he helps them with social media on game days. And then from that, he held their team camera a couple of times. Now he's taking photos of different teams using that team's camera, and he's interested in photography and videography and stuff now, right? So being around the game exposes you to so many different avenues and things, and just getting that first foot in the door. It sounds corny, it sounds cliche, but that's the reality, is getting your first foot in the door and then saying yes to these different opportunities to build off of it.
I mean, that's true with a lot of industries. I'm just curious, what are the most common opportunities, common postings, most sought after positions? And what are some of those little known positions that somebody might be listening right now and saying, I never knew they needed that?
Podcast host, youth children's hockey podcast. Go ahead, Nick. Sorry.
Is that paying?
It's a great question.
Yeah.
I think last year, so April to April 2025, so I started at April 2024. Over the 365 days there, I tracked 2,600 jobs, I'm going to say it was, Christie. Wow. And about 700 of them were sales, and about 400 of them were marketing. After that, it kind of dwindles down through the different departments and otherwise. But really, for people looking to get that first foot in the door, sales is usually the best way to do it. It builds a lot of transferable skills. You get a lot of people skills, organizational skills that even if you think, hey, calling 100 people today sucks, you're going to learn a lot from that then you can apply to those different areas. So by far and away, sales is the biggest category of jobs we see, Christie. I think that makes sense with, it's a live entertainment business. We're selling tickets, we're selling sponsorships. We need people, we need advertisers on the gear, whatever it may be. But, I think my goal as it pertains to kind of different departments and stuff is getting more of those coaching and hockey operations jobs public. Mike, I'm sure you know it well, but a lot of those jobs are, behind closed doors, or, hey, I know somebody that would, be suited well for this, or this guy could really help out your team. Getting some of those jobs a little bit more public, I think would be the next big win for me, because I think there is so many great, smart hockey IQ people that could do those jobs that maybe those don't end up on a public job board as much as I'd like.
But I think that's going back to your original point. That's why you have to get in the door and be internal in these things. Like sometimes you're like, listen, my first job in sales was with the New Jersey Rock and Rollers. Now imagine trying to sell tickets to a roller hockey league, right?
Playing the Bulldogs tonight.
And it was like, our biggest salesperson was like, we've signed Manon Rayom, that was like, okay, well, that's how you have to sell. And it was rejection after rejection after rejection. And then finally I'm like selling tickets to my grandmother, like, hey, come on, somebody's got to buy tickets. But I think, but being in those offices, sure, like you might be getting rejected, but somebody's seeing that you are just pounding away and you're positive and you have great, whatever skills you have, you're showcasing them in front of people that you would never, ever get in front of in an interview because you don't have a resume, right? So I think to your point, if you want the hockey ops job, if you want the assistant GM job, if you want that role, you have to be somewhere else. You have to get in there because these roles are, whether we like it or not, we see it right now, like in the NFL, right? Like coaches are getting hired without even interviewing. Like they just get hired because nobody even knew there was going to be a role available. But when you're internally in there, that the role, I don't care if you're shooting T-shirts into the stands, that somebody's getting fired and somebody's getting, hired, and now you're in the world of navigating that. So I think to your point is get in the door early, be passionate about whatever you're doing, and you're going to have those opportunities and you're going to realize them quicker than the average person that's just sitting in their room, sending emails out.
Right.
That's exactly
Mike,
right.
I just got a text message. The roller hockey team wants you back.
We're bringing it back. We're going to bring back beach hockey too.
I would take it. But I think it's just, but I think that's just like that. That's the whole The whole point is you get into these crazy roles and these crazy opportunities, and maybe people like, how did you get on that pro team? Well, 25 years ago, I was doing the laundry. And I think this,
got a cool
and this
story
is
to
not an
support this,
uncommon
Mike.
story. This is a regular story.
So I've got some cool stories to support this. And before I tell the story, I do want to say that, Nick, you're actually giving everybody here a pretty good equation. All right. I want to make sure the audience understands it. You are 100% correct. Mike is correct. Christie is correct. Getting your foot in the door, that first step in the door, is everything. For everyone listening, he has said sales is available. Okay, first off, I know a lot of people, I that's not me. I can never do sales. Everyone is selling something all the time. Even if you want a job, you better be ready to sell yourself. I highly recommend, if you want to work in sports, taking a sales job just to do it and learn. Okay, Nick, you had said it. You will learn so much just by interacting with people, understanding your fan base. It's an important part of it. Sales are an important skill to have no matter what industry you're in. Because I used to be the kid who's like, that's not me. And then I got a sales job and I said, wow, not only am I okay at this, but I have an ethical way of doing it. And I'm learning a lot and I'm dealing with a lot of people. It was one of the most valuable jobs I ever had. Now, the story. Many of you listening have heard about my time in England and winning a championship in England. I'm very humbled by that and thankful for that. What you haven't heard is how I landed that coaching job. Because originally with that team, there was no coaching job. And I jumped in as a marketer. And my job was to help raise the fan base of this team. I'm going to say it again. This ends with me winning a championship as a coach. Okay? You had said all the things that you have to do. I wore the mascot suit one night. I have never sweat that much in my entire life playing a hockey game. All right? I would sit in the crowd. I would interact with people. I would sit at the desk where people would complain. I was in concessions where there was food. I was all around the arena trying to find different ways to market. I was on social media. I did every little thing I could think of to build that fan base. And in doing that, not only did people start to know who I was, but I got to interact with the team and the players. Now, I had a lot of hockey playing and coaching experience prior to this, but getting to be ingrained with them is how I got the interview with the head coach that would eventually get me that job, right? I put the mascot suit on, and they knew it. So there was nothing that I thought was, oh, that's beneath me because I know all this stuff about hockey. If you're willing to put the work in, you will find yourself successful. I also said this too, if you want to coach, Nick, you brought up coaching, you can't just sit there and go, well, I'm good enough to coach this high level. You may have to volunteer. Go to your local minor pro team and say, I'm going to volunteer to be a coach. I'm not talking about youth sports so much right now. I'm talking about just in general. Got to get those reps. And I wrote this down too. The one thing that I wish I had when I was younger that I didn't, I always go back and forth on whether or not my trajectory would have been the same. But I wrote patience and a pursuit of knowledge. When I was younger, I was rushing to get to the top so fast. And again, you can make the argument I did pretty well with that, but I wasn't present with anything that I was doing. I was always like, I got to get higher. And I never was where I was at. I think that was a mistake. And now where I'm at in my career, because one of the things in hockey is you're perpetually always got your eyes on new jobs, right? It's just the way it is. I'm patient with it, but I'm also pursuing knowledge. Mike talks about this all the time. I want to sit down with other coaches and learn. I want to share notes. Right now, I'm actively coaching all the time, but I'm enjoying being present where I'm at. And I actually think that's a big part of succeeding in this world is not rushing of I've got to work in hockey now. There's a process about this. And Nick, again, what I love about what you're saying is you're sharing every step, every level of that process. What an opportunity for the people listening of there's always something available. Yeah. Right now, you may have to move if you're serious about it. But I just love your comments on it. And like I said, I wore the mascot suit. It was a big bear. I was sweating, and now I'm a head coach. Right? It all works together, right?
It does. It does. It definitely does. And like you said, there's learnings in everything. I wore that big sweaty mascot costume too. I had
That's
OHL players
horrible, man.
sneaking me water bottles and Timbits so I could go duck behind it and recharge before going back out to see the fans. But yeah, it's wearing all those different hats. It's seeing those different opportunities. And then, like you said, it's having those conversations with other coaches, asking somebody out to lunch. I think everybody kind of scoffs at the word networking because it's super overused. And I think, coming up as a young kid or through college, you're like, everybody says networking. What does that mean? What is the playbook? I don't really think there is a playbook for networking. I don't really think you need to have a playbook for networking. You just need to talk to people. And like we said off the hop, there's so many good people in our game that if you can just find people to talk to, listen to, hear their story, learn from their journey. I was at NHL game over the weekend here and, ran into somebody who I'd talked to before. They're working in game presentation now. After the game, they sat with me for an hour telling me all about,
Right.
kind of how their job works, how many people are on their team. That's how I learn these things and I can share it to people and anybody can do the same thing. It's
Right.
just sitting down, talking to somebody, being passionate and interested, right?
Well, and I'd say this too, that we do overuse the word networking. I don't think many people do it. I think we say it, and I think
Yes.
we go to things, but I don't think we do it. Look, I'll give a shout out to our producer, Caitlin here, who's one of the greatest networkers I have ever seen. To the point of not only did she network her way into a job here, right, but the guests that she's able to secure for us, people I think will never get them. We've had NHL GMs on here. And it's just because she's willing to do the networking, period. So I would say that too. I think that word is overused, but I don't think a lot of people do it. And most
Agreed.
people are willing to sit down with you, or at least give you a couple minutes to talk about their life and where they're going. And look, I wrote this down too. Here's a common objection we see, right? Well, you need 5 years experience to work this job. All right. The reason, okay, there's two sides to this, right? I think the reason people put time restrictions on the job is to move people aside right away. If you go, I don't have 5 years experience, you're doing us a favor if you're going to just quit right away. You're probably not tailored. Now, here's the real question for everybody listening. And audience, I want you to remember this, okay? Can you get 5 years experience in 1 year? You can do that. But nobody thinks that way. They see 5 years, they go, I'm only 19 years old. I haven't even worked. Can you fit 5 years experience into 1 year? Because those people will get hired. All right? I don't want you to lie about your experience. I don't want anybody to lie ever on a job resume. I'm not saying to do that. But when you are 19, 29, 39, 59, I don't care. Can you find a way to put 5 years experience or 10 years experience in a shorter amount of time? That can be done. And I want people to think that way.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And I think I hear it a lot of times too, Lee, with this job requires 5 years of experience. Okay, well, I joined my last job with 3 years of marketing experience, and then I kind of did more sales. So I actually had more marketing experience before I took this new job. So sure, my total years of experience is 5, but maybe my experience or my skill set was actually better a couple years ago. And again, that happens with these different, wear different hats, be a jack of all trades. But absolutely, you can expedite your learning. You can grow your skill set faster than people think. Personally, when I post a job, whether it's an intern to help with working in hockey or a full-time job here at the tech company I work at day to day, I don't care about years of experience. I care about what your experience is. I never put a number in job postings. I know I'm in the minority on that, and most job postings do have you need 4 to 8 years of experience.
Right.
But personally, very much like you said, it's about the quality of the experience. I don't care about the number.
Right.
And Nick, maybe we can broaden the conversation too. We have a lot of parents listening, a lot of adults set in their careers, may not be thinking about how can I get involved in hockey? What opportunities are there for me as an adult? Any ideas you can share with our listeners?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think just being a hockey parent, you have to be so organized and good at communication and networking and getting to meet people in there. So I think there is so many ways that you can help out. And whether that's just volunteering with your minor hockey association, whether that's doing something at the local junior or college team, whatever it may be, I think there's so many good people skills and life skills that you've accumulated by that point that you can apply to just about any avenue you want in the game. And I think spinning off of that a little bit, Christie, is there's a lot of people transitioning transitioning into sports and into hockey right now at that 30, 40, 50-year-old mark. There was a great article in the Wall Street Journal the other day about kind of corporate Fortune 500 marketers now getting into sports marketing because they're like, hey, this is way more fun. I think everybody kind of knows sports is fun and interesting, and a lot of these skills are transferable, whether it's being a hockey mom, a hockey dad, working in sales at the local factory, whatever it may be. All these skills are transferable at the end of the day. It's about how you position it and when you find what you're most passionate about to apply it to.
Nick, can you talk a little bit about the other side of this too, is about why maybe as a young adult you'd want to find out, and get involved in working in hockey at a minor league hockey level or college level, because it's not all glamorous, right? I mean, it's you think about like an NHL employee, right? That they probably have to be at every home game. They have to be at every event. They have to be at every community relations. God forbid your team, goes deep into the Stanley Cup playoffs. You're working, the whole basically all of the spring. Maybe you're better off on a team that's terrible. But I think it's, I think it's. Can you talk a little bit about like why that experience is so necessary? Because it does sound great, right? Oh my God, I get to work with this team. But what are some of the pitfalls that people could find out quickly if they can get themselves in the, into these positions early on?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think it is all glamorous on the outside, right? But the reality is it is a lot of long hours. It is a lot of late nights. You are sacrificing weekends or holidays or otherwise if you're working with a team. I think you have to know and be aware of those sacrifices. And I think the other one we kind of mentioned earlier, Mike, is the pay isn't always the greatest as well, right? But like you said, if you're working in hockey or working in sports for the money, it's probably not the right avenue for you. I think just about everybody who's working in the game of hockey or within sports is doing it for the love of the game. They're doing it for passion. They're doing it because they love the people they work team and the city. And I think those are the right reasons. If you feel those reasons, you should definitely pursue working in sports or working in hockey. If you're looking for a cushy 9 to 5 that has a great 401k match and great retirement options and all these different things, maybe not the best option for you. But I think again, it's about the passion. It's about the true love of it. And you go, whether it's, an ECHL team, an SPHL team, whatever it may be, the people that are working for that team, even if it's only 5-10 people, they love working there. They will do anything for that team, and they're learning so much from it that they can then apply to later life experiences or otherwise. So it's definitely a great question. There is definitely downfalls or shortcomings of working in sports, but if you love it, there's a plenty of ways to make it happen.
Well,
And you get great swag.
Definitely
so,
swag.
You always have good swag.
Let's talk a little bit. Let's do some myth busting here. I like where this conversation's going.
Yeah.
I do want people to understand the two sides of this, as Nick and Mike are alluding to, right? In any job, you have to deal with people. I might just leave that at that, right? Like that doesn't matter where you work. You're going to have to deal with people. And in sports, you're dealing with very, very passionate people. And as a coach, I can tell you this right now, all the fans, they know what I should be doing as a coach. They all know, right? You have to be gracious with that from a coaching standpoint. Here's one too, from a coaching standpoint, right? You experience a massive loss, huge loss. Maybe it's a championship loss or a playoff loss. I can tell you right now, the emotions that accompany that in the game will have you rethinking your job at times. All right. Now you always come out of it. All right. But that's a tough thing. Can you imagine going to your job? And I know some of you can, and there's just a massive loss every once in a while that happens. I mean, there's massive wins too, but you got to ride that wave. Right. I will say this too, on the flip side of this. All right. There is not a day that I wake up that I am not thankful. I mean this every day, that I get to do what I do for a living. Right. It is hockey literally 24/7 in terms of work. Okay. But there's long days, there's long nights, there's preparation. There are, from a business side, there's sales goals. I mean, you have all of these aspects that are happening. So I think I want to make sure people understand that you get a job in hockey or in sports. It's not heaven on earth all the time, right? It's work, working in hockey, right? But it is very rewarding work. And you do, I'm going to say it again, there's not a day that I don't Wake up grateful. And there's not a day I don't wake up thinking that there's a lot of people out there working that do not have that experience. And I am anchored in that. There's a lot of people working to put food on the table purely, and they're doing something they don't want to do to feed their kids. I never lose sight of that either. So I think there's a lot of balance and grace that has to come into working in sports in general. And again, I think the older I get, the more of a grip I have on that. When I was 19 years old, it was, I got to get to the top, right? So all those things. Nick, something you've done expertly is not just the job postings, but you highlight a lot of people in the business through your podcast and through your interviews. Mm-hmm. I'd love for you to talk for a few minutes about, why you've chosen to highlight some of those jobs, some of the people that work in the game, right? And how that works in your grand ecosystem. Because I don't want people to think that working hockey is just a job listing site.
Right.
You are so much more than that.
Right. And that visibility is such a key part of what you do. And kudos to you that you spotlight these behind the scenes jobs.
Yeah, well, thank you both first and foremost. But yeah, I mean, for me, I think there is so many cool avenues and cool jobs in the game that maybe I didn't even know when I first started this brand out. So getting to showcase those stories, and more than anything, getting to share how no two people we've talked to have ever had the same journey or path. Lee, you shared your story about finding the business card. Our last episode, a guy was mailing his resumes to teams. Who mails things anymore, right? We have email, we have LinkedIn. Who mails
one
things?
Way to stick out nowadays,
shows up, you're interested, right? So I think illuminating these different stories and paths is super important. Our most recent episode that'll go out here now is Mitch Stewart, the head performance coach for the Utah Mammoth. I didn't really even know what that title meant coming into it, right? Is that strength and conditioning? Is that mental performance? What does that look like? Get to learn about his journey, from working with the London Knights up to the Arizona Coyotes, now the Utah Mammoth. How many people are working together on the same goal there for an NHL team? The things he was able to apply from major, junior to the NHL. I think those conversations are so enlightening for not only the listeners, but myself as well. And again, helps me teach people or guide people along the way. So, we pride ourselves on the podcast of never yet to this point, I think we're 60-ish episodes in, never having somebody on with the same title. All 60 have been different titles, different companies, whatever it may be. So, showcasing these different jobs, the different paths, and again, to bring it full circle, the good people in our game. All these people are people that I know or have recently met and are willing to take time out of their busy day working in the game to come on, share their story, to help the next generation. So more than anything, it's showcasing good people.
I love that. And I'll say too that I have found that people that have been in the game for a while want to send the elevator back down. We're constantly looking for, well, I'll say opportunists, right? That want to work in the game. Look, in my line of work, man, we get emails every single day with offers of, I can help your business do this. I can make you I can do this. To the point that, most of them get deleted, but every once in a while, we'll get one that speaks to me. And it's usually a younger person saying how much they love the game. They tell me a little bit about their experience. And they're just saying, I just want a chance to do this. Most of the time, I will actually respond to those emails. All right. And I'll say, if anything, I'll give you 15 minutes just to talk. Like, where do you want to be? What do you want to do? And I found that to be true of most people in the game. That you like you kind of you know who you're looking for. You know who's out there and wanting. And there's a certain a cadence and a way to speak to people in the game of, I just want to earn a chance. I just want to find a way forward. If it's, I can save you $50,000 and buy your bit, it's like, oh, okay, great. Thank you, ChatGPT. It's good to see you again. But that authenticity, that passion for the game, and I think this is a larger topic here. The passion is very obvious when you see it, right? If you're listening to this show, you are passionate about your kids, you're passionate about the game, right? I want to kind of, to the listeners, double down on that. That's very real. And I think people can see that, right, Nick?
100%. I think the authenticity means the most. And, I get a ton of messages now to the page, to my personal, whatever it may be. I don't have time to get back to them all. So the ones that I'm picking are the ones that are authentic, the ones that are genuine, the ones that are asking a specific question, or, hey, I've done X, can you help me get to Y? The things that are specific and tangible and personable, those are the ones that I'm going to reply to first. the person who reached out and says, hey, how are you? While I would love to sit down and have a conversation about how we're both doing, I don't always have time to get back to that. So I'm leaning to the one that is, I've worked for 2 years in this industry. I really want to switch over. I grew up playing. I, played here, and here. I think we have this mutual connection. Those are the ones I'm going to gravitate to and reply to, right? I think it's being personable. Like you said, there is an element of pitching yourself and maybe why you can be different. But like you said, it's not, hey, I can save you X% on this. We all get those spam messages, those LinkedIn in-mails, whatever it is. So there's an art of being personable. I always say try to find connections, mutual connections, LinkedIn, Instagram, whatever it is, does a great job of saying your mutual followers or connections. Lean on those. Reach out to somebody before. If I click on Mike's page after this and go, oh, I'd really like to talk to that guy, I'm going to shoot Mike a message and say, Mike, I'd really love to talk to this guy. I'm going to reach out to him. You don't have to do anything, but can I mention your name because I saw that you guys go way back? Those sorts of things that can maybe help you stick out or seem a little bit more personable tend to go a long way.
You have this great insight, right? As far as, the jobs and what's posting and what people are looking for and the professional level, the college level. Tell us, how do we leverage as youth hockey organizations and parents and administrators, like how do we leverage that passion to get people in the door at our youth programs? Like, how do we use the same love for hockey and get people helping us out so that we can get the same type of results you would get at the AHL, the OHL, or NCAA level at the youth hockey event? Like, how what would you be a suggestion, what we can offer to help people kind of find that path?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think a lot of times it is again, a little bit corny, but it's talking about the opportunity to learn so many different things and be involved in so many different things. I've seen a couple job postings lately, Mike, that are like, volunteer administrator for minor hockey association. There's no bullet points. There's no description of what they're going to be doing. And then they reach out to me and go, well, I only got 6 applicants. You told me there's a ton of great people out there. Well, if you're not pitching it and saying what they're going to be doing, you're probably not going to get the most qualified or interested or passionate, most importantly, people for that. So
I'll rewrite that one. That one. It's almost because you're afraid to tell. If you start putting bullet points, then you have 5 pages. But I love your point is, tell me what I'm actually going to be able to do for you.
That's exactly it. Sell it.
Exactly. That, I think it goes both ways there, saying why this opportunity is beneficial for somebody. You're going to be involved. You're going to be around the game. We've had people come through this organization before that have gone on to X, Y, and Z. We have 350 players in the association, whatever it may be. Just illuminating a little bit with the facts and kind of the opportunity there goes a long way. And then again, once they are in that situation, in the room, getting them involved in different things. My day job, we always joke that like we copy everybody on every email. Do they read them all? No. Do they need all that information? No. But when they're interested in something, or they can say, hey, 4 years ago, I worked at this company and I did a little bit of this, they can learn from it, right? So just then bringing that person into the conversations, maybe you're having a meeting with all the coaches or, all the parents are there, having them prepare something, present something, research something in advance, whatever it may be, to get sink their teeth in as many different kind of outcomes as possible. That's when it goes the furthest for the organization or the association too.
Mm-hmm. And Nick, would you agree that youth hockey, even high school hockey programs, do a pretty poor job in showing kids the opportunities that they can take advantage of after the physical hockey game stops? That there is life after you hang up your stick. Well, you should never hang up your stick. It's a lifelong game, in my opinion. But once you're done competitively playing, it doesn't seem like a lot of opportunities are even shared with our kids today. They just don't have a clue.
Yeah, 100%. I think we can do a lot better job of that, and I try to help illuminate that as much as possible. I did, just a Zoom call with a college program recently, and asked them, most of them players, how many jobs. This is a picture of the arena on game night. How many jobs do you think are here? What different jobs can you guys list and think of? And they have the guy running the jumbotron, and they have the referees and the timekeeper, and it's like, okay, well, what about the 16 guys here who are doing 50-50 sales throughout the building? And how about about, okay, there's 25 concession stands in this arena. How many people are in each of those? And all of a sudden you get to 300-400 people, whether it's part-time, full-time, or otherwise, that might be working on an NHL game night there. So, just kind of illuminating those things and showing the different avenues. Is a concession cashier at an NHL rink your end goal, your dream job? Maybe not, but like we said, it's getting that foot in the door, understanding that opportunity exists and how you can maybe parlay it into something more.
You know what I'd like to see too from your thought there, Christie, is I'd like to see more high schools or even colleges.
Oh.
The college is a little better, but creating student-run game night staff, right?
Yeah.
Well, maybe it doesn't even need to be paid. There's your experience that we.
Yeah,
keep
I mean, it's funny.
Right?
We ran for 7 years. I ran a high school program in Connecticut, and we literally we had jobs for the high school kids, and I think I placed more kids from the high school in colleges that were non-hockey players, like from video analysis people, director of hockey operations. I mean, these people are working today, right now, in professional hockey roles. Broadcasting, ticket sales, 50-50, because everybody can't be the first line centerman. And, and I think to your point, Christy, some of us they say, oh, well, how do I pinpoint the hockey kid? Well, I always looked at it as, well, I don't know, you got your 3 brothers and sister here tagging along to every single event. That kid doesn't play hockey at all. Let's put that person into another event, or put that person into the penalty box learning how to run the clock. Or there's so many things that go on in sports, and now with technology, I mean, it's endless, right? And I think to everybody's, it's revolving around the conversation. It's really, how do you, if you love and are passionate about it, how do you make it something you could actually make some money? And then on the reverse side, how many people, Nick, to come to you that have retired from corporate life? And they want to still stay in hockey somehow, and they become, they get involved in a local hockey organization because they have all these great life experiences. They're 60 years old. They're empty nesters. I mean, do you see a lot of that end of the spectrum as well?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot on that end that, they just love the game, and, their kids grew up through it, and now they're not playing anymore, and they miss it, and they want to get back involved. And, more often than not, those people have some connections or networks in the game that they can tap into, whether that's a volunteer or part-time position. So maybe they're looking for that full-time or a little bit something more involved there. And honestly, to bring it back to Christie's earlier point of educating people around what roles are there, I have far more former NHL players than I ever would have imagined following the newsletter, reaching out all the time. Guys who were all-stars in the NHL, guys who were in the NHL last season, reaching out, asking for, what jobs are out there. Can you put me in touch with this person? How does this work? I probably had a little bit of imposter syndrome when that first started happening. I was like, you were in the NHL last year. What do you need me for? But now I understand that it does come back to that education point. And again, just the passion for the game. So trying to shine a light on those different avenues and trying to connect those good people, whether it's, your retired everyday average Joe or your retired NHL player, connecting them to teams, programs, or otherwise in the game.
Well, I always love the quote. I'm a big comic book guy, but in the Avengers movie, it goes, if you consider losing experience, he goes, I consider experience. Right. And I think that, to your point, Nick, that experience is experience, and you have to find a way to get experience, whether you have been an NHL all-star or not. Experience is experience. And I think it's the ability to pursue that experience is really a gift. And I think that that's how we have to look at it. If you're in a position to pursue experience in the game of hockey for anything, playing, working, it doesn't matter, parenting, you're in a pretty good spot, right? Also, and we haven't said this, but another kind of stat I think we have to say, and Mike, you'll laugh at this, there are far more jobs in hockey than there are jobs playing hockey by miles. You said it. In a pro game, there's hundreds of employees. There's only 22 players on the roster on the bench, right? So there's always more work there. And Nick, I want to mention this too, especially for the younger audience, and we will do a ride to the rink here shortly too, that we talk a lot about identity on this show, and that how it's dangerous sometimes. Kids get lost in all I am as a hockey player. I'm just a hockey player. And we try and tell them you're passionate about something. That's a gift, but you're so much more than a hockey player. And that's why at a young age, and you've seen this, Nick, in all the job postings, right? And the podcast that you've done, it's important to expand your horizons a bit and say, you know what? I am a hockey player, but I also enjoy broadcasting. That was me as a kid. I also enjoy writing or marketing or creatives. Can you talk just for a quick second about how those other skills are important, how they translate to a career in the game?
Yeah, definitely. And I think a lot of times those skills are learned on the ice, right? The teamwork and camaraderie that you learn through playing a sport can be beneficial to the workplace as well. We hear a lot of times from employers that they love hiring former athletes or they love hiring veterans who they've been around those kind of team-driven environments before. But, whether it's myself growing up, I loved stats. And, I was the kid who every day at school, I'd know what the score was of every game last night, who scored, how many goals they have on the season, whatever it may be. That led me to realize that, hey, maybe I'm interested in analytics and metrics. And, I probably go too into the weeds on metrics on these jobs and podcasts or otherwise. But that's something that I have interested in. While it hasn't been my whole career, I get to, leverage that in different avenues every day. So I think identifying those different things that you're passionate about and seeing how you can tie them into the game. Like I said before, I think just about anything you learn in the real world, in school, and otherwise is transferable into sports in one manner or another. Again, sales is the obvious one. Analytics, you can pretty clearly see there. Even finance. I talked to a guy last week who's worked in corporate finance the last couple of years. He's like, I really want to work in the game. Like, what sort of roles exist for me there? And I was like, well, finance roles. Like every team does their numbers, right? Every team has their accounts payable, accounts receivable. They have their financial auditing crew. The league wants to get forecasts and reports, everything. There are so many finance jobs in the game. And he's like, that's a great point. Didn't really think of it, but it's just having those conversations. And again, you find your interest, you be passionate about something, and more often than not, as long as you're a good person and try hard at it, you can find a way to make it work.
The NHL offices have 4 levels of floors, in downtown Manhattan. So, and they're not all hockey players, right? So somebody's doing something in the sport. I mean, I look at my son even playing like EA Sports or whatever. I'm like, watching him work with salary caps. I'm like, oh my God, like that's a better made team than anybody I've seen make, and it's well within the salary cap. It is a 12-year-old. So I'm trying to think of there's so many different avenues you can go. And I think it's the same. I think the reason we play sport is to prepare for life. So whether, so if that's just one of the paths you're going on and you don't end up in sport, you don't end up in hockey, the idea that you're using all of these passionate things that you're involved in, get your kids, like Christie's saying, at the youth level, get them doing all these other things. It's going to pay off in something. Like Lee, we talk about it all the time, right? You're going to be professional in something. Yeah. So just have that great foundation. That if you're using hockey and working in sports to help you get to this other, role, awesome. I think that's a great way to do it. And it's a fun way to do it.
It's very well said.
Circling back to your example, Mike, of what you did with the high school players. Yeah. That's brilliant, because not only do the kids win gaining all these skills, but you're plugging all the holes. How desperate are we so often? We don't have enough people to run the board. We don't have people to,
and I'll say this too, Christie, the objection sometimes with high school kids is, well, it's going to be very amateur. And I go, what have you seen high school hockey? This isn't the NHL, right?
Like, are you kidding me? The girls soccer program, we cringe when I walk into the cafeteria at lunch looking for people to work the games. Like, oh God, here he comes. I can tell you right now, at the end of the year, they had, because they took, like, kids are great about, they're just going to invent all these crazy, great things. And they were coming up with, we didn't do t-shirt tosses. We did egg roll. They did anything they could to get people in the ring.
The point is,
all of a sudden, you have 600, 700, 800 people at a game. They don't even know why they're there. But who drove that? The student body drove it.
Yes.
Somebody had
a teacher that wanted to create it. And
it was pretty amateur. I'll tell you that right now. It was pretty bad. It was almost as amateur as the coaches
that they gained too by doing it.
It's on par. It's on par with the play. That again, people lose. It's not going to be like an NHL. No, it's not. It's not supposed to be. They're high school students. That's its experience. We're going to have to get to the end here in a minute. We're running out of time. But I will say this, just Nick, to prove your point. I was very fortunate to get my master's in sports management. And I remember when I got into that master's, we had to do finance class, lawyer class, attorney, law. We had to do all these aspects of sports I had never done anything in. But I'll tell you what, I loved the courses so much. I was interested. Like if you told me I would be interested in sports law, I would have told you you're crazy. I love that class. You know what I mean? So it just shows you the passion kind of dives through. And I do recommend if you guys are looking for a degree or a master's, go highly specialized. When I took sports management, that was a new major. No one had that. I know it's a little more prevalent. Find something that's going to give you some really transferable skills. Nick, again, we're running out of time. I do want to ask you, buddy, just from a working in hockey standpoint, what is your vision from here? Like, is there more you want to do? Is there ways this is going to expand, and how can we support you with that?
There's always more that we all want to do, that's for sure. But no, this week here, as we're recording this, we're doing our first event at New Jersey Devils game, doing a networking event where we, have rented out a room in the Prudential Lounge for an hour and a half pregame, and we're going to have about 25 people who work in the game at various levels, and about 75 fans, followers, friends of the program attending there as well. So about 100 people getting together for some networking and mingling pregame, and then watching the game together. I'm super excited for that. I think, again, the networking aspect is something that not a lot of people are taking advantage of, like you said earlier, Lee. So I'm very excited for that. We've got a couple more events like that planned through the rest of the year, and I think that can be a big success in terms of connecting people and getting them outside of their comfort zone, out of their shell a little bit as well. Because at the end of the day, it's just watching hockey with people the same age, the same interests, same geographical location, etc. So I'm very excited for the live events side of things there. But aside from that, just continuing to try to help people understand and see the different job postings in our game. So like I said, I never thought this many people would be interested or care. So we're kind of figuring it out as we go here, but that's a great problem to have.
No, I agree. And I'll add, just because you mentioned it, our producer, Caitlin, wrote a note here that there's a difference between networking and socializing, and that a lot of people socialize and they're not networking. That proves your point there, Nick. But man, what a fantastic episode. I'll say this, you're doing the hockey gods work, right? I hesitate to say it the other way, but you really are, my friend. And I always perk up when there's a thought in my head of, man, I wish I had that when I was younger. I wish I had that when I was a kid. So for those of you listening to this episode, working in hockey, not hard to find. Check out the work this man is doing. Truly just a service to the hockey community to not just bring the jobs, buddy, but the shows that you do, the networking opportunities that you do. It's amazing what you've built, and I am wishing you nothing but the best as you move forward, because it's a wonderful thing.
Thank you, Lee. No, that means a lot, and really appreciate you guys having me on here. I think this is, obviously our kids play hockey is a self-explanatory name as well, which is great. But it just, again, shows the good people in the game, the good conversations that happen in the game, and if we can help one or two people out with these things, we're doing a great thing.
I agree, my friend. And like I said, the ride to the rink is another way to continue that naming rights, right? So that's going to do it for this edition of Our Kids Play Hockey. For Nick Bowins, Christie Burns, Mike Benelli, I'm Lee Elias. Make sure you check out Working in Hockey all over social media, all over online. Subscribe to his newsletter if you're interested in finding a job in the game. And remember, if you have a topic or a thought you want to talk about, you can email us, team@ourkidsplayhockey.com, or click the link accompanying this episode in the show description. Give us your name, where you're at. We love talking with your topics. Take care, everybody. Have a wonderful day. We hope you enjoyed this edition of Our Kids Play Hockey. Make sure to like and subscribe right now if you found value wherever you're listening, whether it's a podcast network, a social media network, or our website, ourkidsplayhockey.com. Also, make sure to check out our children's book, When Hockey Stops, at whenhockeystops.com. It's a book that helps children deal with adversity in the game and in life. We're very proud of it. But thanks so much for listening to this edition of Our Kids Play Hockey, and we'll see you on the next episode.